What's up, fighting fans? Tibz from the Fight IQ channel. Today we're coming back for another episode of the Fight IQ show. Still working on that vlog from Newcastle, that's why you didn't get a weekend review. Also, summer is finally kicking in. It's getting hot and it's about to get hotter with that weekend preview. Some bangers coming our way. I'm gonna pick 3 fights that will blow your mind and that you shouldn't miss. After that, I'll also recap what will happen in the combat sports world this weekend. So let's get ready to rumble! On my menu there will be the PFL 6 in Sioux Falls on Friday 28th, ACA 177 in Sochi, Russia on Friday 28th, UFC 303 in Las Vegas on Saturday 29th, the Estrada vs Bam boxing events in Phoenix on Saturday 29th, and Lopes vs Claggett boxing event in Miami on Saturday 29th. Number 3, I picked Brian Ortega vs Diego Lopes, co-main event of the UFC 303 in Las Vegas on Saturday 29th. A clash with the potential to shake the whole featherweight division. Ortega, ranked number 3, is taking a huge risk by accepting this fight against the number 14 and rising star Diego Lopes. Ortega is 33 years old, 16 entry, 1 no contest, 11 finishes. At UFC since 2014, he started with a win via submission, later overturned to a no contest due to Ortega using a banned substance, but he launched a 6-fight win streak in his next fight in June of 2015, all via finishes. On this streak, you will find Thiago Tavares, Diego Brandão, Clay Guida, Renato Moicano, Cub Swenson, and Frankie Edgar. That led him to a title shot in December of 2018, facing the formidable striker Max Holloway. It didn't go his way, he suffered a lot of damage and the doctor stopped the fight after round 4. After an almost 2-year layoff, he came back with a beautiful win via unanimous decision against the Korean Zombie in October of 2020. That got him another title shot versus Volkanovski this time in September of 2021. He lost via unanimous decision, taking once again a lot of damage but getting close to submit the champ. Since then, 2 fights versus Yair Rodriguez. The first one he lost in July of 2022 due to a shoulder injury, and the second one he won it via submission in the 3rd round last February. He will now face one of the new sensation of the division, Diego Lopes. Lopes is 29 years old, 24-6, 22 finishes. He has a lot of experience, even though he's still young. He fought in Brazil, in Mexico, in Russia, and in the US. He's the former Lux Fight League featherweight champion, and he attracted the eye of the UFC, who proposed him a fight in the Dana White Contender Series back in August of 2021. He lost via decision versus Juan Brito, but that didn't stop him to keep trying to get a shot at the UFC, which he got in May of 2023 after 2 consecutive wins at Fury FC and at Lux Fight League, and for his debut he faced the excellent Movsar Evloev. He lost by unanimous decision, but since then 3 fights, 3 wins, 3 finishes. That includes Gavin Tucker, Pat Sabatini and Sadiq Yusuf last April. It's a really interesting fight, both guys can strike, both guys are excellent jiu-jitsu artists, so it's gonna be fun. I would say that Ortega has an advantage. He faced the cream of the featherweight division already. He had 2 title shots. Also, in his last performance, he showed that he was not willing to take so much damage anymore and that he was ready to lean on his BJJ to finish fights. I love Lopes. He has KO power, is an amazing finisher. He showed some progress in his last performance, but I think the step is a little bit too high for him. I'm confident he will get to that top 5 soon, but I'll pick Ortega for this one and via submission. Number 2, I picked Juan Francisco Estrada vs Jessie Rodriguez, main event of the boxing card with the same name in Phoenix on Saturday 29th. It's for the WBC World Super Flyweight title. I love this matchup. The current champ versus the champ from the division below. Juan Francisco Estrada, 34 years old, 44 entry, 28 wins by way of knockout. Huge and impressive resume for El Gallo, former WBA and WBO World Flyweight Champion from April 2013 to September 2015, and he defended his crown 5 times. He moved up to Super Flyweight after that, facing some tough names like Carlos Cuadras and Rung Visai, against who he lost via majority decision in February of 2018 for the WBC World Super Flyweight title. He got his revenge in April of 2019, snatching the Tibz crown after winning by unanimous decision. He defended it twice with 2 KOs versus Dwayne Beeman and Carlos Cuadras. In March of 2021, he beat Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez by split decision, getting his hands on the WBA World Super Flyweight title. But he had to vacate his titles and he didn't fight until September of 2022, where he beat RG Cortez by unanimous decision. His last appearance was in December of 2022, where he got back his WBC World Super Flyweight title, vacant at the time, beating Chocolatito again via majority decision this time. El Gallo is a really elegant boxer, he has an amazing footwork, really good on the back foot, and has a lot of striking volume. But he will have a hard time defending his belt versus Bam Rodriguez. Bam is 24 years old, 19-0, 12 wins by knockouts. The American is a hard puncher, definitely one of the most powerful in this weight class. He's a southpaw, he puts a lot of pressure on his opponents, he loves to fight them in the pocket, where he can throw some nasty body shots. He also has a great footwork, finding beautiful angles when he sidesteps. He beat the same tough names that Estrada beat, Carlos Cuadras in February of 2022 by unanimous decision. It was for the vacant WBC Super Flyweight title. And Rung Visai 4 months later for his first title defense, winning by TKO in the 8th round. He made his second title defense in September of 2022, having his third title fight in 1 year, beating Israel Gonzalez by unanimous decision with a dominating performance. He moved down to flyweight after that, getting his hands on the vacant WBO World Flyweight title by beating Christian Gonzalez Hernandez by unanimous decision in April of 2023. In his last performance in December of 2023, he beat someone who was then undefeated, Sonny Edwards. It was an incredible performance, forcing the British corner to stop the fight after the 9th round and getting the IBF title. He's now coming back to Super Flyweight to conquer the WBC belt once again. It's gonna be an amazing fight. Bam will put pressure and Estrada fights wonderfully on the back foot. I'd say that Bam has the speed and power advantage, but Estrada has a lot of experience. Still, I'd go with Rodriguez. He showed in his last performance how complete and how powerful he became. I think his pressure will be difficult to handle for Estrada in the later rounds, the body shots wearing him down, and I see Bam getting the KO or TKO win. And number 1, Alex Pereira vs Jiri Prochazka, main event of the UFC 303 in Las Vegas on Saturday 29th. The light heavyweight title will be on the line for this exciting rematch. I'm not gonna rewind their careers, but let's have a look at the first fight. Poatan won it late in the second round, knocking Prochazka down and finishing him with ground and pound. But before that, we saw a pretty competitive fight. Pereira was damaging the legs of Prochazka early in the fight with nasty calf kicks and showing his punching power. Prochazka was being dangerous, even with busted legs, finding angles with unorthodox strikes and going to the ground where he had the advantage. I think that's the key there. Even though Prochazka can hurt Pereira with his striking, we saw that Poatan was a bit rocked in round 2. That would be taking too much risk, as Jiri rushes sometimes for the finish without protecting himself, and Pereira showed in the last fight and in his whole career that he needs only one punch to finish the fight. The good strategy would be to take the fight to the ground early, wear Poatan down, try to get a submission. Pereira seems to have improved his takedown defense though, succeeding in his last fight to come back on foot, but not sure he would last 5 rounds like this. I have the feelings that Pereira will keep the same strategy he had in the first fight, damaging the legs to slow Jiri's movements and looking for an opportunity to land his devastating left hook. And I'm pretty sure that's so it will go, because I feel these two want to stay in each other's face until only one stands. That's why I'll pick Alex Poatan Pereira, retaining his belt with a KO in the championship rounds. There are some other fights I want to keep an eye on. At PFL, Kai Kamaka vs Pedro Carvalho sounds like a banger. Pretty sure we'll get a finish in that one. Ramazanov vs Musayev, two undefeated welterweight facing each other, and Braga vs Jenkins at featherweight looks promising too. At UFC 303, I love the Ian Gary vs Michael Page matchup. Two highly technical strikers, clash of generations, I can't wait. For the rest, I don't think it looks like a pay-per-view card. Of course, McGregor vs Chandler fell out, but I still think UFC could have done better. I'll pay extra attention to Ricky Simon vs Vinicius Lockdog Oliveira, which I think is one of the best fights of that card and should not be an opener. Talbot vs Gemuri is also interesting, two really good strikers facing each other. Charles Jourdain vs Jean Silva looks pretty cool also at featherweight. And a clash of OGs, Cobb Swenson vs Andre Fili. On Estrada vs Bam, we have a great co-main event between Sonny Edwards and Adrian Curiel. I'm curious to see how they'll come back from their losses. Teofimo Lopes will defend his WBO World Super Lightweight title versus Steve Claggett. To be honest, I don't see a world where Lopes loses that fight. I think he's a level above his opponent and I expect a finish. ACA 177 has some nice fights put together. They got Vitaly Bigdash on it, the former One Championship title contender. The level of competition is high, so you guys should definitely watch it. One Friday Fight 68 this Friday is a great striking fest. We have Prajanchai vs Dibella for the strawweight kickboxing title. We have Superlek, Swablak, Petchanong, Ramazanov, Shadow, Jimmy Vieno, etc. etc. Also, Invicta is back with the Invicta FC 55, not the great organization it used to be, but there are some nice female prospects on that card. And we done here. Now you know what to watch this weekend, guys. As usual, punch those like and subscribe buttons, it helps me so much. Go hit the comments on Discord, on Telegram, on Instagram, whatever you're on. I need your support and I want your thoughts and your picks on the coming matchups. Enjoy the fights, I'll see you next week.
But right, but I might go lefty. I make plus with it, so don't test me. They wouldn't let me. Man's gal